Welcome to another episode. This time I will address a recent LinkedIn poll of mine. The question was, is cybersecurity a profession? I gave three possible answers. 1. No, it is IT security done right. 2. Yes. 3rd, no, information security or GRC is the profession. Now for the statistics, 7 opted for the first, in other words IT security, 32 for the second, the affirmative, and 5 for GRC. It is not the easy question it appears on the surface. You need to break down the question. First of all, you need to understand what a profession is. Some of the characteristics of a profession are: it requires extensive training of an intellectual character. Its services are vital to society's well-being. Its practitioners usually have a high degree of autonomy in deciding how to carry out their job. Practitioners must undergo a process of certification or licensing by the state, province, or country in order to be eligible to carry out certain tasks or provide certain services. Licensing gives practitioners an exclusive legal right to provide those services. Finally, professionals are usually organized in societies. For example, the AMA for physicians, the ABA for attorneys, the ASCE for civil engineers, the APA for clinical psychologists, etc. These are in the USA. They promulgate ethics codes. Since some of these characteristics come in degrees, and since some occupations have more of them and others less, it makes sense to suppose that occupations can be arranged on a spectrum or continuum, with the paradigms of professions, for example, law, medicine at one end, trades that clearly aren't professions, for example, car sales at the other end, and occupations that are semi or emerging professions, for example, realtors. Now, as it stands, cybersecurity and information security, for as you know by now, I do not regard them as the same, are on the range between car salespeople and educators. To be a good security person, you need extensive training of the right caliber for your chosen pathway. Our services are increasingly becoming vital. Depending on the company and the specific role, autonomy may or may not be present. However, there is no licensing or outright accreditation by a state, provincial, national, or transnational body. There are professional bodies like IC Squared and ISACA, but the fact remains there are no defined standards. And if you were to compare that to university, you've got the defined standards for doctor, professor, and various others in between, as well as precisely what you need for specific roles. The UK National Cyber Council is taking the lead in conjunction with various industry bodies to define standards akin to chartered status for engineers and accountants, and it is anticipated that the European Union and the USA will follow suit. Indeed, my understanding is that such discussions are underway in parts of the USA and certainly in the EU. Now on to the answers. IT done right. Please note that I did not say IT support. I am referring to the technical securing of information technology, from patching to having technically secure on-premise or cloud-based services, etc. These include routers, switches, servers, vulnerability management, SIEM solutions, red teams inclusive of penetration testing, blue defensive teams, etc., etc. Information security, GRC, being the profession. Now here it gets really interesting. If information security is defined as being governance, risk, and compliance, governing the business security risk management, then cybersecurity is a subset of information security. Cybersecurity would then focus on IT security done right. I personally make this distinction, and therefore my answer to the poll is InfoSec is the profession, which also renders the first answer, IT security done right, as also being correct, but not the best answer. However, if, like Dr. Eric Cole, Dr. Mansour Hasib, and others, you do not make this distinction between cyber and InfoSec, in other words, you subdivide cyber up, then this potential answer falls away And the right answer becomes yes, cybersecurity is a profession, at least an emerging profession. I'm well aware of some eminently qualified practitioners who would argue that even GRC is a subset of enterprise risk management and not a profession in its own right. This is not a view which I subscribe to. Instead, as I just said, I regard information security as an emerging profession. There is a lot of work to be done to professionalize it, but it is on the spectrum. How it rises up the spectrum depends on us ensuring that we have the right knowledge for our roles, are able to interact with business, and are able to fix the hiring and retention crisis. Your credibility comes from you, the way you think, the way you approach problems, the way you build relationships, the way you gather, analyze, and interpret information. We are not there to secure the organization. We are there to be helpful. Not a lot of security folks think like that. Start with yourself. First, ensure that you yourself have earned the right to be recognized as a professional. If you're within the UK, get involved with the UK National Cyber Centre and its efforts to professionalize our industry. We can do this. We can do better. We must do better.